Hi and welcome to lesson 26. We're getting onto email addresses on your own domain, ready to start building your website after this lesson. In the past few lessons we've registered domain names and we've acquired the hosting and we've got everything set up, but today we're going to start putting your domain to good use by putting an email address on it. So the first thing to do is to make sure your site's live even if you've not added any content, and I'm going to show you a site in a moment. And you can see that it actually resolves and works, because you can set up an email address even if there's no content added on your site yet. I know that most people are still using freebie email accounts, and there are two schools of thought with it really. There is a place for free email accounts, particularly Gmail. Gmail is used a lot by marketers, but the really serious marketers, generally speaking, tend to use their domain names linked to an email account. But above all, what you mustn't do is use cheesy email addresses and weird things like bobsmith2003 at Hotmail or sexyjudeforyou@hotmail.com, or you've seen them all. I make money for you at yahoo.com. All this sort of thing. You want to come over in a professional manner. You don't want to be looking like one of these spivs stood on a street corner, with a suitcase, and as soon as the police come along he packs his suitcase up and he's off and gone, and you never know where he's from. It's important to have your own email address on your own domain because it looks more professional. Now that's really what it boils down to. If you think about it, what would you like on a business card as an email address? You'd want something that stood out and made people think, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about, or this girl is serious about business. You don't want this flippant sort of thing. It's really important because you want to invoke trust, and your email address can go a long way towards doing that. Also, it gives you more control of what's delivered to your inbox. If you're using a Gmail or a Hotmail or a Yahoo, they have certain defaults and they will move things by default into a junk folder or different folders. And you may have to go searching for important mail through lots of different folders. If you have your own email address, and you can always have it, things that are delivered to that email address, you can even have them sectioned off into a particular folder for attention. So it's important because you can add lots of different levels of filtering onto your email address, and you can set up several different ones with the same domain to make it look like you're a bigger organization as well. You can have customer service and sales and different things as email addresses, all for your domain. And thirdly, it can improve your outgoing email deliverability rate. A lot of spam filters will check for the free email addresses first, and that'll be a point against them in the filtering. So if you have your own email address, your own domain on there, there's a better chance of it getting through. It's going to have a better deliverability than a free email address, and an increase of just a few percent delivered more can make a difference of thousands of dollars in profit. So it's something that you really should be considering and thinking about. There is a place for free email, don't get me wrong. I have several free email addresses, and particularly for your personal emails and for emails that you want to make sure you get deliverability. I said when you're setting up WordPress, for example, you want a free email address in there as the admin, because it's not going to anybody except you, and you know that if you've got a problem, that's where the email is going to go to. So there is a place for them. I'm not saying that you should never use them, but what I am saying is if you are in business and you're sending business emails out, it's better if it comes from your domain that is related to that business. So I'm going to go through now and show you just a few things of how you can set things up in your domain for email. In the last lesson we looked at logging into your cPanel, so I've logged in to mine for Boxer Dogs XYZ, and you can see the cPanel. Some of them may have a slightly different layout. cPanels tend to change them, and you can even switch themes here and get a different look to your cPanel. Okay, so you can do that, and it'll look different, but it'll work the same way. So you just have to get used to the one that you've selected, the one that you've picked. I'm more used to this version, so that's what I'm going to use, but the choice is yours. They work in exactly the same way. It's just whatever interface you get used to looking at. But here you'll see Mail, and there's lots of things that you can control here in Mail. You can use spam catchers and webmail, and I'm going to show you those. But initially, let's just set up an account. And it can be your name. You could put sales, as I say, you could put customer service, you could put anything you want. You can type in a password, and if you're on our hosting, you can go totally unlimited, no problem. And all you do is you put in the name there that you're going to use. It could be support, could be all sorts of things, and you just click create account, and the account's created, and there you see it. So that account is there now. We can just click on webmail here and log into webmail. Another way is to just enter your domain name in your browser with a colon after it and then 2095, and that'll take you to webmail. And you'll see that you've got different choices, and these are just, once again, different ways that things are laid out. These two tend to be more graphical, and this tends to be plain and simple. And I like plain and simple. So you can just log in there, you can set up your account, and it really is pretty simple. So that's if you want to use webmail, that's how you can do it, and you will be able to just click on your inbox. You'll be able to compose letters. You can see everything in the trash. There's nothing here at the moment because it's just been set up and nobody's sent any mail, nobody's received any mail. But it's there, and it's a good idea to test it. I just had to break off from my recording, so here I am. I'm back at Boxer Dogs XYZ, and if I just put in a colon 2095, that will take me to the webmail login. And if I log in now and then click on Squirrel Mail, we should get into the webmail account. Here we go, and as I say, it's wise to test it, so I'm just going to click on Compose, send an email to graham@soap.com, put in that it's a test, and it's a test, and send it. Pretty quickly, that should disappear, and there we go. That email's been sent. If I go to the inbox, you see that this folder is empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my account at graham@soap.com, and then if I've received that email, I'm just going to resend it or return it, reply to it to here, and that'll prove that everything's working. So I went to my email and it was received, and I just replied to it, and if we just click on there, it'll open it up, and there it is. That was the original message with test and replied. So we know everything is working as it should be. Now there's just a couple of other things I want to show you here. First of all, forwarders. If you click on forwarders, you can then add a forwarder just by clicking here. And so if you wanted the address you've just set up, I think it was Graham at Boxer Dogs, and you could have it forwarded to any other address you wanted. Okay? And if you click that as add a forwarder, then you can get all your mail there. If you want to catch all the email that comes in, then you can put in Boxer Dogs at boxerdogs.uk .xyz, and you could perhaps forward that to Graham at boxerdogs.xyz, and that would mean that all email that came in to any address that you've not actually set up. For example, somebody might want to just send and think, well, I don't know how to get in touch, so they might send to contact@boxerdogs.xyz, and if they do, then it'll get forwarded to Graham@boxerdogs.xyz. If you only want people to be able to access the email addresses that you've set up, so that this is one way to eliminate spam, because people will sometimes just spam a domain. They'll send to all sorts of different things at boxerdogs.xyz. If you wanted to do that, you can just do that and you won't get any mail. It'll just automatically send a message to the person that mailed you saying no such person at this address. And then you click add forwarder, and that's it. That would be done. Okay, so that's forwarders. If we go back here, the other thing I wanted to show you was Spam Assassin. This is something all you need to do is click enable Spam Assassin, and it'll stop some spam on your server. This can be advantageous, but it can also cut out some mail that you may want to receive. The higher the number, the more conservative the setting. So if you were to change this to 10, it would stop an awful lot of mail getting through. If you set it to 1, it would let more suspicious mail through. It's something you would have to work out by trial and error if you set it. So that is what you can do, and you can also disable the auto delete of spam so that it isn't automatically deleted from your server, so you could always go back and check through things to see if something has been missed. And that was how you would do it. You would just click enable Apache Spam Assassin, and that would stop a lot of your spam. But as I say, I don't use it. I don't use it because I prefer to see everything that comes through, and then I filter it as it comes into my inbox, and I use Outlook for that. And I just want to show you setting up on Outlook as well before we move on. So this is my Outlook account, and what you do is you click on Tools, Account Settings, and New. What you do then is move this up here. You want to configure it as POP3. So you do Next, and you enter in your name. This is the name that you want people to see. So, and the email address, I think it was graham@boxerdogs.co. Let me go back to the mail and just check. Can't remember what I've done. Yeah, graham@boxerdogs. In fact, I'll copy that. And then if we go back here, that's the email address. You can't right click and paste into Outlook when you're setting up, but you can use Control V and that will paste things. And then you enter your password, the password that you set when you set up your account, and then you click on Next, and it'll have a look through for things. And it said the name on the security certificate is invalid. We don't have a security certificate, so yes, we will proceed. And it's found it, and it's going to send a test email message, and there we go. And you click Finish, and that has now been added to your email addresses that you have. Graham@boxerdogs, it's there, and that will now bring in mail to Outlook, and then when it comes in, you can filter it in any way you want. In fact, it set that up as an IMAP account, and I don't want that. So let me go to Tools, Account Settings. Let me go here, and then I want to manually configure, and let's see if that'll let me change that. No, it won't. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to set it up again, because it set it up as an IMAP, which is okay. It works, but it works in a different way, and I prefer it as and POP3 is a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up again. So I'm going to delete that, and we'll go to New, go here, and we'll put it in again. I think I've still got this. Yeah, type my password again, and I'm going to just click on manually configure, and I want internet email, next, POP3, and I'm going to type in mail.com boxerdogs.xyz, and here I'm going to type in the same, mail.boxerdogs.xyz. And if you find that's not working, instead of mail you put SMTP, but I'm pretty sure that'll work. Username is Graham at Boxerdogs, and my password is, click next, and we finish. And that has now been set up and is in there as a POP server, so that's okay. You can, once again, you can test that yourself if you want, but I'm pretty sure that you'll find that that works. So here, back to the slides. The video that we've just looked at showed you how to set up an email account via cPanel, how to check your email via the web, how to configure Microsoft Outlook for POP3, how to set up an email forwarder. And just to recap, forwarders allow you to advertise or give out certain email addresses without actually having to manage another email account. In other words, you could say to people, you know, if you set that forwarder up to catch everything, then you could say to people, send your email to replies@boxerdogs.com, and it would capture that email for you. You could set it up as an individual, just directly going into there, or of course you could set it up in a different way. You could set up a different name and manage it in a different way independently as a totally separate account. So your action steps now are just simply to set up an email account or a forwarder on your own domain, or both. That's if you've not already done this, and then just simply test it to make sure it works. Here's an important note. If you've changed your primary email address, in other words, if you did have another one and you're scrapping that really, you want to make sure you update your subscriptions for anything, any newsletters or whatever it is that you are subscribed to, such as for this course, for example. On any email that I send you, you can just click on Change Subscriber Actions link. That's at the bottom of any email that you get from me. And then you can simply change your email address to your new address and save it, and that'll then make that all your future correspondence come to that email address. So now that you're all set up with your email, it's time to turn our attention to building your website, and we're going to start with that in the next lesson. And as always, you're welcome to post your questions and comments below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. God bless.